I ask a really personal question, Frank? I mean, given what you've gone through in the last few months with Chelsea, a club you've admitted as a boy, you were a West Ham fan, you grew to love Chelsea Football Club. I mean, my goodness, you've got two players in John Terry and John Obi saying that you're the greatest player that ever pulled on a blue shirt, for goodness sake. Has your relationship with the club been sullied at all with what's gone on in the last few months?
No, not at all. I think when you go into management, you understand that your job's not going to be Chelsea manager for the rest of your life. I'm fortunate that I've done it once properly, second time in much more of a holding sort of babysitting role. And what I feel is the club will never change because the club is always about the fans and the people that support it. And we've been very fortunate in the last 20 years because as Chelsea people, we've been used to the success, this sort of winning machine. Generally, like we've won a lot of things. In my time, after my time, we never really had I wouldn't say we had a style like a Man City style or this sort of style. We were just a strong team. It was a winning machine with some big players and good managers or whatever and a turnover of things. So the circumstance of me going back there this time, I appreciated the opportunity to go. When I went in there, I probably expected, I probably thought, can I impact some things here to help in this period? And then it, help the club, might help me. I'm back working. It's my club, all those things. When I went back there, I just realised that it was the most difficult moment I've ever experienced at the club. Because even when I came pre-Roman, it was a club that was striving to get sixth. There was a humility to it. Now it's a club that wants more and hasn't got it at the moment. And the motivation levels that I saw there, and the sort of like the work ethic and the desire wasn't there in that period. And I understood it because when I looked through the squad, I went through the squad and I'm like, and we've seen it now in this summer, I don't know, 15, 20 players have left. And one day we went on the board when we were there and it was like halfway my 6 weeks or 7 weeks I was there and we looked through and it was like, and we went through half the team, more than half the team, we're probably going to leave. Loans, leave. We knew kind of what was happening for the club's reasons or their own reasons. And you cannot play at a club like Chelsea. We keep talking here now about what a group we had, the players, you relied, we had a fight, we supported each other, we drove each other. You cannot have a mentality in the modern day, even more than ever, because of the high level of the Premier League, where it's not quite right. You cannot have players that are thinking, I might be leaving here, so maybe this is not for me the last 8 games because we're not going to win anything or whatever it is. I understood it on a personal level for the players. I didn't love all of it because it was never me. I didn't like it, but you can't, as a coach, you can't judge a player on how you would have felt. It's just, It doesn't equate to think, because everything's a different circumstance. But I understand a player that maybe hasn't played, and I came in at the back end of the season. So Thomas Tuchel had started the season, they'd lost a few games, they were doing okay, but they lost a few games before everything, he left the club. Graham Potter came in and they went on a good run and then they had a difficult time and all those things. And I respected both those managers. So when I came in, I'm like, what's going on here? Like there's something happening, obviously. And when I understood then, when I got that, I got the end of that. So a lot of players hadn't played, disgruntled with the club, with the ex-manager, all these things. And we were playing in the running when I came in. I think we went to Wolves, who were fighting relegation. We went to Real Madrid, who were Real Madrid. We had Brighton at home in the middle. Then we went to Real Madrid, came to us. I think then we played Brentford. Then we go to Arsenal, who were fighting for the league. And then our running at the end of the season was Man U, Man City, and Newcastle. And all these teams are motivated and driven and like sort of like a version of what we're talking about with the important things in football.
Yeah.
And they weren't there for the club in that period. So I had a big understanding coming out of it that, I didn't learn a lot tactically. It wasn't a tactical period for me. There was nothing. If you haven't got motivation, that desire, things won't matter if others have got more desire than you. So now I understood the early parts of this season. Maybe the process going forward will be a bit of a challenge for the manager, for the team, for the club, for the fans, because they have to understand that this period is about trying to get back to some of the basics that we talked about in this era gone by. Let the players develop because they're going on a cool strategy of some younger players. And I think once that happens, I think hopefully then you start to see the benefits of it. So I learned that. To come back to the question, did it I probably got a bit of stick from going back in that period because you lose games. In the modern world, social media not to say loves it, but
yeah.
But the reality is, I working within it have an understanding, or as I see it, of where the club was, and I don't think I had to tell too many people it. The important people at the club understand that, and the manager now will completely understand that. Unfortunately for him, that turnaround has probably given a a different motivation to the group. You know, the players who wanted to leave or were thinking to leave, they've gone. And new players, it will take time, put it together. And then you have to kind of stick with it, and you'll have good and bad days. Like, it's just normal now. Chelsea want to get back to the top. I'm pretty sure they will.
Yeah, it's candid from you, though. It's very, very candid, Frank, because you've said there when you walked in, I wonder, it's two-pronged, this question. Did the ownership group know there was a motivation issue? And how many days did it take you and your coaching staff to say, we've got an uphill battle here because motivation, we might struggle to actually have an impact on this group because it's that low?
No, I think the ownership were aware. I can't talk for them, but I think they're aware because they've obviously, when you lose a manager, there's a reason for it. And when I'm coming in for 11 games, like, I think there's an awareness that, you know, things are not great. So I suppose that was where my role was sort of hard to impact. And I think if you're an interim, and we played under them, the managers come in sort of like December or January, you can have a run at it, and you can tactically affect people in this. And we were challenging. So it's like, can you win the Champions League? Can you get to the top four? Like, now it was like a middle ground of there's not much to play for. So it's normal. It's human nature. People think about themselves. Yeah. So the owners are not silly. They would have seen the difficult scenario of that. In terms of us as staff, we realised pretty quickly, particularly after we lost against Real Madrid and we got knocked out. We played pretty well at the Bridge, but it didn't work for us, blah, blah, blah. When we got knocked out, you could feel the building come down. And again, like, then it becomes it was like, what's from our point of view, we're not stupid at that point. We understand that it's going to be a tough run because there's not much to play for. For us, there was. For me, there certainly was, and my staff. But for certain players, they start thinking to the next thing. And we understood that. So it was like, what are the small wins that we can get, which might be a young player, it might be, you know, Madueke, or it might be, you know, giving a chance to a certain player. What can you do? And those things. So it was like that. Probably like the challenges then were kind of like, can we try and win some games? Because this is Chelsea. You need to try and win games. And can you try and look at, like, you know, Mudryk, can you get some games for him? Can you help him in positionally and what we want needs to do? And those things. So, you know, I didn't mind the time. You know, we didn't win enough games, clearly. But when I went into it, I wasn't thinking we're going to flat the league. I had more realism than that. But when I got in there and I could see where the club was, because I've experienced a lot of good times where the club was a driven club at that moment. And as I say, I understand it a lot on individual levels. When you go through the squad, you kind of go, yeah, contract issue there, probably going to leave. Manager didn't play him, hasn't played for 3 months, out of squad for most of the season. You kind of get it.
Yeah.
You get it on that level. Absolutely. Yeah.